guys, welcome to my next course. Today I'm going to teach you how to write optimized content that drives better quality traffic back to your website. Now, if you haven't built your WordPress website yet, click on the link below and complete my first course. This will teach you how to build a website that is properly optimized for search. That means making it secure, fast, and well designed. Today, I'll cover how to fill in the content piece. Now, in terms of what it means to write optimized content, let me just give you a little frame of reference as to how I came up with this. So when I started writing, I was sending my professional resume to prospective clients, but it didn't really tell the story of who I was, why I was qualified to write for them. I needed to give them samples. So I built my own WordPress website. It included samples. It explained my services. The problem is I was treating my website as a digital business card. So I was still spending countless hours every week trying to hunt down new clients, looking at job boards, applying to them. And I would just send a link to my website and say, here are my samples, please have a look. And it took out a lot of time from my schedule, prevented me from writing, which is how I make money. So I decided I needed a change, and what I needed to do was put the search engines to work for me. And that's what you guys should be doing. You shouldn't have to be hunting down customers, paying for a bunch of advertising online. You're paying for a website, so you need to make it work for you, which means playing by Google's rules, optimizing your content, and letting Google put it in front of the right people. So that's what I'm going to teach you today. At the end of this course, you're going to have an SEO page template, and this will help you write better content, not just in terms of quality, but making sure you have all the right SEO signals in there. And we're also going to get your first page or blog post completed. So let's get started. Let's briefly talk about the formula for SEO success. Now, there's an entire industry of professionals that get paid top dollar to know what this is, know how to implement it, and they do it for the leading websites around the world. But your website is brand new. Your business probably isn't generating a lot of income right now. So you shouldn't have to pay for a service like that. What you can do instead is use the template that I'm about to help you create, as well as the tips on writing optimized content, and do it on your own. Now, if you do go this route, I just want to let you know it's not going to give you overnight success in search engines. For my own website, it took about 6 months after I had implemented the system before people had started finding me in search and reaching out and saying, hey, I saw your website, I saw your samples, this is really cool, can you help me write stuff for my own website? So I would say on average, it's anywhere from 6 to 12 months, depending on the competitiveness of the keyword you choose, as well as how much optimization you actually do on your website. So hopefully this will help you get it all done and make sure you're hitting all the right SEO signals, and your website will start showing up in those top pages of search results and get you found by prospective clients or users or whoever you're trying to appeal to. So in terms of what we're doing here, we want to make sure you're attracting the right kind of traffic in search. So to do this, the formula includes a number of things. You've already taken care of 3 of them in the first course. That's security, speed, and a great-looking design, great-looking responsive design. Today, we're going to focus on the content piece. So we need to make sure your content is readable. We need to give it a scannable structure. We need to make sure you choose the right focus keyword. You need to include authority link building. You need to write metadata for each page and post you publish to your website. And you also need to keep the website as a whole refreshed on a regular basis. Don't worry if you don't understand what those terms mean right now. I'm about to explain what each of them are and show you how to implement them on every page of your website. All right, so you're here to start optimizing content for your WordPress website, which means we need to start by creating your SEO page template. So to do this, we're going to pick one page, as I explained in the description. Either go to Posts and Add New, or Pages and Add New. We're going to go to Posts, Add New. Now, what we're trying to do here in terms of optimizing content is 2 things. We want to make the page readable, which means that anyone who comes to your website can read the content just as well as they could something on the New York Times or Bustle or BuzzFeed or your competitor's website. You just want the text to be easy to read, conversational, clear, concise, to the point, and effectively sell whatever it is you're trying to get across with. A lot of that's going to fall on you, but the way that you structure your page is also going to help, which leads me to the other thing that we're going to try to do here is create a page that's scannable. Now, in terms of what we put in the template, there are a number of elements we need to build in. So let's get started in doing that now. First thing you're going to need is a title for your page or post. Just want to make it very clear that what we're about to create and save is just a template. It's not meant to be something that's published and put on the website. So you enter your title, and then you're going to start by entering a paragraph on the page. Now, every page should have an introduction, whether it's an introduction to the product specifications, to your blog post, to the services that you're about to talk about. The introduction will vary in terms of length. I tend to say if it's a shorter page, keep it under 100 words. If it's a longer page, anything between 100 and 300 words is good. So when creating a template, you're not actually writing content. You're putting notes in here that will later trigger steps you take as you write the page. This is my introduction. It should be between 100 and 300 words. Don't forget to make the message concise. In general, I try to make each paragraph no more than 3 or 4 lines on a page, and I also try to make sentences stretch no more than 2 lines. If you do that, you run the risk of people getting bored or just tired of the poor writing structure. It's really hard to keep reading if there's no end in sight. So try to keep everything as short as possible. Find breaks so that you can make the topic easier to digest. So my introductions in blog posts tend to be 3 paragraphs long, so I'm just going to put another placeholder. This is another paragraph. Make it short. And then I'm just going to copy this in other parts here. Now, one of the first things you can do to break up the text, make it easier to read, and also let Google know what the page is about is to add a header. So to do that, you're going to look for the heading block and add that in here. And you can see that it's going to style it with a different hierarchy. So H2 is the highest that you can go on the page. This tells Google this is the primary topic, pay close attention to this. This also lets your readers know that this is the main part of your content. Focus on this as I'm about to break it down under H3 and H4 tags, if you want to add them. Otherwise, you could just use a bunch of H2 headers. Just make sure that you have headers placed throughout so that you can create clear divisions between the content, introduce new topics, and make it easier to scan through. So I'm just going to put, this is my H2 heading. Good. And then anytime you hit enter, it's going to create a new paragraph for you. So since I already have that saved, I'm just going to go ahead and add this, add a couple more. Now, as you can see, it's starting to look like a page. You've got paragraphs in here, you have a header. And no matter how short you make your paragraphs and sentences, no matter how quickly you get to your point, readers are going to get tired of reading text, just a bunch of text. That's why video is so popular today. However, you might not have video to share, and that's totally fine. There are other ways to break up text visually and give your readers a break so that they can kind of take a breath before they dig into more content. So one of the ways to do this is by adding a bulleted or numbered list. So you hit your paragraph, click on this, or you can click up here to add a new block. And you can either do a search for the block, or you could just click it. You can see it has the bullets here. And this is point number 1. This is point number 2. This is point number 3. Like I said, we're not adding real content. What we're trying to do here is just establish a structure for our page so that as we write it, we remember that we need to go through and address all of these things. Okay, so let's add another paragraph. And then let's think about some other ways that we can break this up visually. Another good way is to add an image or a video, and they don't have to be your own. If you want to go the route of stock photography, you can do that. If you want to share a video from YouTube and embed it on the page, you can do that. Just think of ways that you can add relevant visual content that complements what's going on the page. In this case, I have a few images I can add, so I'm going to add a placeholder here, and it doesn't matter what you put in the page, you just need to have something there that reminds you when you're writing, oh yeah, I should probably put an image in here at some point. So I'm going to add a picture of my dog, puppy staring at the lake, and select. You can see that's in there now. Once you're ready to move on, just click into a new paragraph, add another paragraph. We're going to add a new heading. This time we're going to make it an H3 because it'll be a subtopic of H2. Say this is my H3 heading. Go ahead and add a new paragraph. Another thing you can use to visually break up the text is a quote or a call out. So let's find that box. We have the quote here. Go ahead and write your quote. This website is amazing. I don't know how that puppy does it. And then I'm going to add a citation. Dan Skaka said it. And you can see, again, it gives your readers a break. It calls attention to something other than all of the content on the page. Because let's face it, the chances that someone's going to read all 600 to 800 words of your page, or if you write content like me, 2,000 to 3,000 words of your article, it's very slim. So you want to have these key areas where you can draw their focus down and reiterate the point that you're trying to make. Just add a couple more here. And then we're going to add a conclusion. So I always like to put one last heading in here. That way, if people scroll down the page, they'll get a sense for how long it is because it's clear right here that we're about to wrap up the final point. And in this case, it just says conclusion. And these don't have to be very long. It's kind of like writing papers back in the day. You have a short introduction that summarizes the point. Your body captures all of the bullet points that you had planned on tackling. And then you have your conclusion here. One other way you can add visual elements to a page like this is by adding a button. So to do that, we will click on button. And this is also known as a call to action. So let's say you want someone to subscribe to the blog because they're happy about it, or you want them to sign up for a service or purchase the product. You can use a button to do this. You should use a button to do this instead of just a regular hyperlink. So we're just going to say this is my button. We're going to center it so it looks pretty. And there you go. So you can see now that we have a very basic template here. It's just letting us know how we should be structuring this page. You have your short introduction, your header. You've got a bunch of different paragraphs reminding you to keep it short. Bulleted list. And go down, you have an image here. Another header, some paragraphs, a quote and call out, and then you have your conclusion with a call to action button. Overall, this looks very basic. Your pages and posts don't have to end up being this basic. Again, these are just here to remind you on how you should be crafting your content once it comes time to sit down and write it. Next, let's talk about keywords. So a big mistake a lot of people make is stuffing a page full of keywords or just one keyword. Either way, it's a big no-no. Google doesn't want to see it, and your readers don't want to see it. It just creates a really poor experience because it looks like either you didn't care to get the right message across, or a machine wrote it, and again, you didn't care to get the point across. The point of the focus keyword is to continually reiterate the main point of the post or the page throughout it. And this also sends signals to Google's bots about what the page is about. So it helps both for readability, scannability, and also just indexing your website in front of the proper audience. But how do you find the right keyword? So this is another mistake I see businesses make, where they pick a keyword that's just way too generic. So let's use a real estate agent, for example. The last thing you would want to do is optimize this page for real estate agent. It's too generic, and chances are good you won't ever see the light of day on the first pages of results in Google, because companies like Coldwell Banker and Realtor.com are going to take those spots away from you. So what you need to do is really think about who your audience is, what kinds of questions they're talking about, or what kinds of questions they're asking in search, what sort of problems you solve. Just think about your audience and how they are actually going to find you in the search engines, and pick a keyword based on that. Or you can do as I like to do, and you can go to KW Finder. This is a really great tool. I use it for all the blog posts that I write, as well as when I create website content. It's just kind of a gut check that lets me know that the generic keyword is definitely something I can't rank for. It gives me inspiration on alternative ideas for keywording a page. So as you can see here, there are almost 74,000 people searching for a real estate agent every month. However, it's an incredibly hard term to rank for, so we don't want to waste our time on something like that. Instead, we'd want a focus keyword that shows up in green over here, but still has a good amount of search numbers. So as you can see, this is a very popular topic, and it's one that's dominated by really well-known companies. However, we have something down here in green, and when you click on it, you'll see that it's very easy to rank for, and there are also 2,000 people looking for it every month. That sounds pretty great. Now, while you might not be able to use house real estate because you happen to deal in commercial real estate, apartment real estate, some other specialty, that's okay. This is just meant to give you an idea of how to alter that keyword to work in your favor. If you don't necessarily have a specific niche that you can carve out, that's fine. Think about things like geography. In this case, I would probably talk to my client and see if they wanted to rank for Miami real estate agent, or narrow down to the county in which they work. So think of other ways in which you can tailor a keyword to get a more specific audience and the right audience to your website. Now, that's obviously not what we're doing here. We don't want to put an actual keyword in. I just wanted to give you an idea of what sorts of keywords you should use. But in terms of actually optimizing your page with a keyword, we need to make sure it appears in certain places. This will help both your readers as well as Google. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to include a quick little note that says F word, standing for keyword, throughout my post. This is my trigger that lets me know that I need to put a focus keyword somewhere within this section. You can call it whatever you want. You can add it in brackets and call it focus keyword. You can just call it keyword. Or you can write out a full note for yourself that says add a focus keyword in the title, add a focus keyword in the introduction, etc. This is your template to work with, to personalize, to make it work for you. You want to save yourself time in having to craft content, and you want to make sure you understand how to do so in a way that is search friendly and user friendly. So if you have to write out more notes in here, feel free to do so. I just try to keep it short for my own purposes because I've done this a million times and anything else would just bog down the process. So in terms of other areas where this needs to appear, your first paragraph of your introduction. If you have an introduction that's longer than 2 paragraphs, I like to create end caps. So I make sure it appears in the introduction. This is my way of saying, hey, this is what I'm going to talk about. And then before I get into the crux of my argument or whatever's on the rest of the page, I like to put it in the end and let people know, like, hey, this is definitely what I'm talking about. Are you ready to go? Let's do it. So I'm going to put a note here as well. In terms of the headings, you want it to appear in this very first H2 heading. Like I said, Google's bots pay very close attention to what you have here. So by putting the focus keyword right in here, you're already off to a strong start. In terms of putting it into the rest of the post, it depends on the length of your page. So pages that are under 1,000 words, I would say make it show up every 100 to 200 words. Maybe closer to 200 words, just so you're not using it too much. But again, try to find a natural place for it to flow into and then embed it there. For anything longer, so anything over 1,000 words, stretching into a few thousand words, I would say every 300 to 500 words. It's up to you where it goes. And again, just a reminder, the notes that you put in here don't necessarily mean that the focus keyword needs to be in this first sentence of the first paragraph under the header. It's just a reminder that somewhere in this section, you need to put your focus keyword. So I'm going to put it in here a few more times. In terms of your headings, I would say just put it in the first one, and then if you have more than 3 or 4 headings, put it in at least one more, if it makes sense, if the topic is related. And then don't forget to put it in your conclusion. Just once will do. One other place you do have to put it is in the first image on the page. Google does actually look at the what's known as alt text. This is what shows up for people who are visually impaired. It describes what the images are on the screen, but Google's bots also look at this and use it to decipher what the visual content is, because obviously they can't look at the image and just know right off the bat. So I have my F word in here. Go ahead and add yours just so you remember when you do add an image into the page, and save it. And then that's it in terms of the focus keyword. The last thing we need to add to our SEO page template is links. There are 2 kinds that we can add: internal links, which point to other content on the website, whether they be the home page, other web pages, blog posts, product pages, contact forms, etc. And external links, which point to other websites. The whole reason we use links is, 1, to improve the user experience. If you can point people to a relevant link, get them to take action, just direct them towards their next step without having to respell it all out on the page and take up those precious minutes that they're giving to your web page. A link is a better way to do that. It also helps with navigation. That way you can ensure that people are continually moving through your website. They're not just staying on one page, reading it, and then bouncing off and going to look at someone else's website. You want them to stay there until they're ready to convert, or they're at least sold on your idea so that they return later to do so. External links, however, are meant to help establish authority. So you have to be careful with this. You never want to link out to a website that's brand new, a website that's not very trustworthy, like if it doesn't have an SSL certificate installed. You don't want to link to brands that just aren't well known, that don't rank well in search themselves. Linking out to provide more commentary on whatever the point is that you're making, but you're also linking out so that you can borrow some of their link juice and put it towards your own. The more chances you have to link internally, the better. I realize this is going to be difficult to do when your website is brand new, if it's super small, but there is always a way that you can at least link back to the homepage or recommend people go contact you through the contact form. So find these ways, find at least one way to put one link on your website or on your web page or a blog post. And then as your website grows in size and you find more ways to connect all the pieces, you can add more. As for adding links to your page, again, you're just going to put a little placeholder. For me, I try not to put it in the introduction. I feel like it takes away from what you're trying to do in terms of summarize and get people into the article. So I usually start putting notes here, and it doesn't have to be anything big. It just reminds me somewhere in this next section I should probably start linking. I'll put another note down here. Probably include one here. And then the bottom actually has the button. Your page doesn't have to have a button, but this is a good reminder that buttons are a great way to really draw attention to an internal link on your website. So this is another opportunity for linking. Another thing you do have to keep in mind when using links on your website is that internal links, you want to keep people in the same browser, you want to keep them moving through your website. Nothing should disrupt that flow. So when you add a link, go here and let's open that up. And then we're going to go ahead. This is my URL. And it's going to go to whatever the internal link is. And I'm going to leave this untoggled and then go ahead and apply it. And then that way, when they click on the link, it keeps them on this website. They're not going to leave. They're going to stay here and hopefully keep looking at more and more content until they convert. Now, for external links, you want the opposite to happen. You don't want them to stay in this browser and leave your website completely. The whole point in drawing better traffic to your website is so that they convert. If you go ahead and give them a link to a better website, let's say you point them to Forbes and it's a fake link and it's an amazing article and they're like, oh my God, I'm just going to stay here. And then they totally forget about you. So to do this, you want to direct them to a new tab. That way, when they do click on this link, they'll click on it and it will open a completely new browser window, which keeps your website safe over here for when they want to return. Or if they do go getting lost on Forbes or some other website, they go to click at that tab and then they remember, oh my gosh, I was here, I didn't take action, let me do something about it. So it's just always good practice. External links need to go in new tabs, internal links stay here. So once you've taken care of all of your hyperlinks, I would suggest adding a fake link to all these just so that they stand out. And then save your changes. And then that's it. That is all you have to do to create your SEO page template. You have all the essentials that you need to send signals to Google. You also have everything you need to create a structure that is readable and easily scannable for your readers. However, before I move on to the next point, I do want to mention something about backlinks. So this is a third type of link you should be using to optimize your website for search. However, it has nothing to do with links on your website. A backlink is the opposite of an external link. So other websites include links back to your website. And that's huge. If you can get your links to appear on trusted websites around the web, Google will again pick up those links, see what the visitors on the website do once they come to your website, and if they're happy with it, if the content is relevant, if they stay there and convert, it's really going to help you in search. So when your business is new, this is going to be a little bit difficult to do, since how are you going to convince a website like Entrepreneur or a major cooking magazine or whatever industry you happen to be in to report on you and link back without having to pay them a lot of money. So the best way to get started is to make sure that your website URL is published to all of your social media bios, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. These count as backlinks. They're trusted websites. So this is the first place to start. If you're active on any forums online, Reddit, Quora, anything like that, make sure the link exists in your user profile. So anytime you comment on something or ask a question, that link shows up on that page. And those pages all get indexed by Google as well. So it's another opportunity for a backlink. Then once you've established your brand, it's time to really work on backlinking. So writing guest posts for other websites, being featured on a podcast, hosting webinars, whatever you can do to get your name out there and get that free backlink to your website, just do it. It really helps with establishing authority and giving you a boost in search. With your SEO page template done, it's now time to create your first page or post from this. However, WordPress doesn't necessarily make that an easy thing to do. You can use the copy all content option, which will save all of this, and then you can go add a new post, add a new page, and paste it in there. But that's really inefficient. And part of the reason we're doing this is so that you can save time in your workflow. You shouldn't have to be creating new content by hand every single time. You created a template to streamline everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to install a new plugin called Duplicate Post. So go back to where your template is. You don't want to open it up. What you want to do is hover over it and click on Clone. And that's it. That's as easy as it gets. You have instantly cloned your template so that this can remain intact. So go ahead into your new post. And the first thing you want to do is obviously change the title just so that it doesn't get confusing with the template. So I'm going to do that. And then it's time to write. Now, I realize for those of you who aren't writers, who don't do this a lot, this might be a little intimidating. You're probably looking at this page and thinking, where do I start? How do I implement all this stuff? So here's what I'm going to tell you. You already know what you want to write about, whether you're promoting your product, or you're going to talk about your new service, or you're just writing a blog post that teaches your audience something. Just start writing. So go ahead, add a new paragraph block. Don't worry about these guidelines just yet. Just write your introduction. Then stop, review the guidelines, make sure that your paragraphs and sentences are as concise as they can be. Make sure you've included the focus keyword where it needs to be. Check the length of your introduction. Make sure it falls within a good word length. And just review it. Make sure it makes sense. Make sure it's conversational and flows naturally. And then when you're good to go, start on the next section. Write your new headline, and then again, go ahead and add a new paragraph up here, and just start writing the next part of the post or the page. And then when you get to the end of the section, go ahead and review these points. Did you keep the paragraphs and sentences short? Did you include the focus keyword a couple times? Have you used all the opportunities to add visual breaks? So anything that you can do to make this easier to read and motivate people to get to the bottom of the page, do it. And these cues will help you. Congratulations, you've completed your SEO page template, and you've gone on to use it to create your first page or post on your website. I hope you're feeling good about this. I hope you're excited about being able to write content that search engines and visitors to your website will love. Now let's talk about further optimizing for search. The plugin we need to use for this is called Yoast SEO. If you took my first course, you already have this installed. You already have the settings configured. When you're ready, let's go take a look at your post or page that you've just created. Here we go. You can see that mine isn't the title isn't very serious, but the rest of the post itself is actually properly written out. I wrote this out specifically so that if any of you want me to export it and send it to you so that you can use it as reference in the future, I can do that. So just leave a comment below or message me and I can send you a copy of this. But you can see I've used everything that was included in the template. There are different visual cues, even if it's just adding bolding or italics to the text. I've got bullet points and my puppy image up there, another puppy image down here. Used header tags throughout. Here we have it. This is my completed post. Yours probably looks completely different, but the point is you have something done. So what we need to do now is use the Yoast SEO plugin to complete our work. So let's scroll down to the Yoast SEO box. And you can see here, it's always sitting at the bottom of any poster page you create. First thing you want to tackle though is the focus key phrase or focus keyword. Just enter the word that you came up, or the string of words that you came up with, add them here as they appear exactly in the post. So in the case of the example I had discussed before, it would be Miami real estate agent. This way, when the tool works, it's going to look for matches of that word. As you can see, the tool isn't happy with me right now because I didn't write about a Miami real estate agent. I wrote about an F word. But now it turns green and it has a happy face. So this is exactly what you want to see. If it doesn't have green, we're going to have to look at the analysis, which we'll look at in just a minute. But first, let's turn our attention to our snippet preview. This is where we create what exactly shows up in Google search. So you can see you have your title, you have your URL, and you have your description. So to edit it, click this. And you can see I've already added my information, but in terms of what you do, you can write everything from scratch. You can templatize this, which I showed you in the last tutorial. Either way, you want this to be clear, concise, and accurately describe what the page is about, and you want a green score. That means the title needs to be, I believe, under 65 characters. You don't have to worry about counting the characters. Yoast will tell you when you've gone overboard. So just for an example, the second you go over that limit, it's going to turn red and let you know there's something wrong. And although it does display the whole title up here, Google is going to cut it off where it turned red and just add an ellipsis. And that's why Yoast is telling you not to do that. Don't exceed the limits because it'll compromise how it shows up in search. And that is part of having an optimized website. If you want people to see the link and understand what they're about to get into, you need to make sure that you've written it in a way that is concise and to the point. Now, your slug is the part of your website that describes what the page is. I'm on the SEO Content Templates website, and this is my post that I've called F-word post. For you, it would be a very short snippet of what the title is, and it would include the focus keywords. So let's say it's Miami real estate agent, and maybe it's the services page, or it's the contact page, in which case I would make it look like that. And then meta description, again, it's the same as the title. Make sure it's succinct, make sure it captures the idea of the poster page and convinces people to click on this link when it shows up in search. Yoast, again, will tell you when you've exceeded the limit. If it turns orange, remove the extra words. So you can see here we've got the green is good. Not only is it here, but Yoast tells us up here what the current page's score is. So we've got the green focus keyword, we've got the green metadata. That's perfect. Now, if you really want to get your page in amazing working order to the point where Google can't ignore the quality of the content, go down to your analysis results. As you can see here, I've done a number of things really well. Yoast has gone and given me a green score for them. Things that could use some improvement are here in orange. And things that definitely need to be fixed are the outbound and internal links, which I just talked about. But the second that you go and add those in there, these problem areas will disappear and your score will improve. Use this as a sort of checklist as you work on optimizing your website, and as they disappear and move down to the good results, pat yourself on the back and then remember those tips as you create more content for your website. One other thing to check here, the tool is currently in beta, but it's worth using. It's the readability analysis. And this is going to tell you if you have issues with things like paragraph length and sentence length, using subheadings, so all the headers that we put in there. Take some time to read through these. If you're wondering where exactly these issues are, you don't have to go digging them up. See these little eyeballs over here? Just click on it and then scroll up and you can see that Yoast has highlighted it for you. That's pretty cool. So again, these tools that we're using are helping us save time while also guiding us in the right direction to optimize our content. All right, so we've reached the end of the course, or have we? There is one more thing I need to tell you about, and it's about keeping your content refreshed. So that means writing blog posts regularly, keeping information about your services and products up to date, always adding new inventory when it's relevant, and just making sure that what's on the website currently reflects the status of your business, brand, whatever sits behind it. You don't want visitors showing up and realizing you don't know what you're talking about, or information is from months ago and it was no longer relevant. So take the time to do this. I would say once a week, just revisit your website, make sure the SEO is good, make sure you've included internal links where they can go, add new ones when you find new opportunities for it, and produce content when you have the time. And if you don't have the time, outsource it to someone. I'm not saying to me, just outsource it to someone. But yeah, that's a wrap. You have your page template, you have your first page that will help you create the rest of the content on your website. If you ran into any problems at all during this tutorial, please leave a comment below or message me and we can work through it. I'd also like to see some of the stuff that you guys have done. If you made any sort of changes to the template to make it easier for you, please feel free to share. I'd really like to share your insights with others. Maybe there's something that I do that doesn't make sense for you and you found another way to structure it in the template to remind you to optimize your content. And of course, don't forget to follow me. I'm trying to produce regular content related to SEO and WordPress. So if you're interested in keeping your website up to date and doing well in search, I'm the person to follow. So I'll see you guys next time.